Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we will call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mayor Patterson, we have quorum.
Okay, first we have Committee of the Whole closed meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the bylaw to add a closed session item. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, agreement with the Attorney General as outlined in the addendum. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Schell, that procedural bylaw 2010-1 as amended be waived in order to amend the council agenda to add the closed session item entitled Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, agreement with the Attorney General, as outlined in the addendum.
Please vote. And that carries.
Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Neal, that Council resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole closed meeting to consider the following items: Labour Relations or Employee Negotiations, Ontario Nurses Association; B, Labour Relations or Employee Negotiations, Canadian Union of Public Employees; C, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, construction contract disputes, 197 Brock Street, 266 Bagot Street, and 105 Brock Street. D, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, agreement between the City of Kingston and Ministry of the Attorney General.
Please vote. That carries. Oh, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sego ani buju wachaya kwe kwe. As the mayor of the city of Kingston, I offer these words in the spirit of this gathering. Let us bring our good minds and hearts together as one to honor and celebrate these traditional lands as a gathering place of the original peoples and their ancestors who were entrusted to care for Mother Earth since time immemorial. It is with deep humility that we acknowledge and offer our gratitude for their contributions to this community, having respect for all as we share this space now and walk side by side into the future. We were just meeting in Committee of the Whole closed meeting. We discussed a couple of labor relations issues with respect to the Ontario Nurses Association and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, and a couple of items subject to solicitor-client privilege, including construction contract disputes at several addresses, and also regarding an agreement between the city and the Ministry of the Attorney General. So with that, I will ask for a motion to rise without reporting.
Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Holland, that Council rise from the Committee of the Whole closed meeting without reporting.
Please vote. And that carries. Next, we have the approval of the addeds. We have, as noted, the additional item for our Committee of the Whole closed meeting, and we have a report from Planning Committee as well as some other communications. Can I have a mover, please, for the addeds? Moved by Councillor Candon, seconded by Councillor Osanik. Please vote. And that carries. Are there any disclosures of potential pecuniary interest? Councillor or Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I, Peter Stroud, of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of closed meeting item number 5, report 16-273, as I am a current member of the Ontario Nurses Association.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor George.
Thank you, Worship. I, Kevin George, of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Kingston, declare my pecuniary interest in the matter of Clause 1, Report number 91, as my company has been retained by the applicant to provide survey services.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Candon.
Thank you, and through you, with respect to the matter relating to Report 91, Item 5, I have a professional legal opinion from a reputable local law firm with expertise in the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, stating that I do not have a pecuniary interest in this matter. I take these matters very seriously and did the extra work to make sure that everything was done correctly. As such, I'll be voting on this matter this evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Seeing no other disclosures of pecuniary interest, we will move on. We have no presentations tonight. We have no delegations. We have no briefings. Are there any petitions to present? Okay, seeing none. We have no motions of congratulations, recognition, sympathy, condolences, and speedy recovery. We have no deferred motions, so we will move right to reports. First, I will ask for report number 90 from the CAO.
Moved by Councillor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor McLaren, that report number 90 from the Chief Administrative Officer consent be received and adopted.
So there is just the one item A, so because there's one item, it has been separated. Is there anybody that wishes to speak to it? Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I just wanted to thank staff for their work on this. This is a creative approach and solution to get to an answer for our RFP, and I'm looking forward to a redevelopment that also brings a new company to Kingston. So I think that that's a really great opportunity for us. So I hope there's a lot of factors involved in this, but I hope it goes forward and that we can see a great redevelopment of an old building to contribute to our downtown and our Inner Harbor area. So I'm looking forward to passing this.
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison.
I suppose I should say, as the council for the district, I want to mirror the comments of Councillor Allen and say that thanks should go out to, of course, the staff who negotiated this and worked on this, and the city's own generosity in making this deal work, and to Raw Design for taking part in it and proposing in good faith what they're proposing to do. And I would say that I've heard nothing but positive response from this, and I think it's a good thing we're doing here. Thanks very much.
Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to agree with my esteemed colleagues on this matter that have spoken. It did not come at no cost to the city, but I would think that this is a positive outcome, and we're all hoping that this development will be everything that we hope it could be by the looks of it, and they have my full support as well.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, will you take the chair?
I take the chair, Your Worship, and it's your turn to speak.
Thank you. So I was very clear when this issue first came up to council. I believe it was back in 2014. I had real concerns about the amount of money that this was going to cost us. And it wasn't because there wasn't some value in the building, but because the building was in such bad condition, I was concerned about where this road would take us. So it's unfortunate that it has cost us more than I think we would have hoped. But like the councillors that have spoken around the table, it's very clear to me that this is the best option moving forward. Yes, we are selling this building for $1. We would have liked to have sold it for more, but it's going to cost us a lot more to hang on to. So it's very clear to me that we are where we are today, and that moving forward, this is definitely the best option that's in front of us. And so, again, I'm happy to support and would encourage council to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and you may have the chair back.
Thank you. Seeing no other speakers, we will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 91 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I'm pleased to present report number 91 from the Planning Committee for Council's consideration.
Moved by Councillor Shell, seconded by Councillor Neal, that report number 91 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
So there are 5 items in report number 91. Number 1 has been separated because of Councillor George's conflict. Number 5 has been separated because it was a recommendation that was lost on a tie. Would anyone like to separate either items 2, 3, or 4? Councillor Bowman.
Yes, item 3, please, Your Worship.
Item 3. Councillor Shell.
Item 4, please.
Okay, so we will do each of the items individually. So first we will call the vote on item 1, approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment, 40 Crescent Drive. Please vote. And that carries. Item 2 is approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 3955 Pine Grove Road. Please vote. And that carries. Item 3, approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 297 Gore Road. Councillor Bowman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to briefly speak to this because there's a great little park in behind there, Buckingham Park, and it's a little gem of a park. One of the problems is it doesn't really have any true road frontage. So what this is essentially going to do is it's going to take a section of the available land there and basically bring that park out to the corner so it will become more visible. It'll actually have some road frontage on a corner so more people will be aware of it. The other thing it'll do is section off some remainder of that land, which will, I believe, be row houses or potentially row houses, which is also in keeping with what's already existing there. So this is a great use of getting some parkland back and actually being able to put some more taxpayers as well in the area that can benefit from that. So I hope everybody supports this. I don't think it's controversial at all. I think it's just good planning and good common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will call the vote on item 3. And that carries. Item 4, approval of official plan update. Councillor Shell.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. I wish to move deferral of this clause, that clause 4 of report number 91 received from the Planning Committee be deferred and referred back to staff in order to allow staff an opportunity to undertake a final round of public engagement on the proposed changes to the 5-year update of the City of Kingston official plan, and that's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Neal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So debate is only with respect to time or place. Seeing no comment, we will call the vote. And that carries. Item number 5, approval of an application for proposed amendment to the Brownfields Community Improvement Plan, 223 Princess Street. Mr. Clerk, can I see you for a moment? Okay, so item number 5 has been split into 2 parts. So we will deal with them separately. So first, okay, so item 5 has been split into 2 parts. So we will first vote on the first part, which is with respect to the proposed amendment to the Brownfields Community Improvement Plan, and there will be a second vote with respect to the actual application for zoning bylaw amendment. So, with respect only to the first part, the Brownfields Community Improvement Plan. Councillor Neal.
Yes, I believe that this indeed passed unanimously at planning. The planning committee was in full support of our brownfields policy, which I'm proud of. Over the years, it's been adopted by many other communities as well. And it's a very forward-looking policy. Similarly, we supported the notion, the principle of community benefit, because there's been frustration over the years with some developments being approved well beyond the existing zoning allowance for density, with no benefits accruing to the community. So that, I believe, passed unanimously as well. And that's I believe is a good principle to adopt. But that section, clearly, from what our planners have said and what the Planning Act says, does not mean that it should influence our decision around land use planning. And that's why those 3 of us who voted in favor of both Brownfield and the Community Benefits Program indeed voted against the proposal based on land use planning and the existing OP and zoning. So just to give that clarity, because it may seem strange that we're saying yes to 2 things and no to something else. But thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak just to this first section? Okay, seeing none, we will call the vote then. And that carries. Now on the approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 223 Princess Street. Would anyone like to speak to this? Councillor Schell.
Sure, I'll start. Thank you. I would like to tell you of my process for deciding on the proposal for 223 Princess Street.
Councillor Schell, I'm just going to pause there.
Okay.
The clerk has reminded me that because the recommendation lost on a tie vote, we need a mover and seconder to put it on the floor. So can I have a mover? So moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Turner. So now the recommendation is on the floor. Councillor Schell, my apologies. I will start your 5 minutes over again.
Oh, I don't need 5 minutes. Thank you. This building will not change the gorgeous view down Queen Street that ends at the water and across the way to RMC. This building is not on the waterfront. It has always saddened me that this gorgeous city hall is flanked by an 18-story condominium that blocks our waterfront. This building is in the heart of lower downtown without being right on Princess Street. It will fill a huge empty lot and see an important heritage facade restored, the only heritage aspect of this site. From this building, people can walk to everything that makes for a happy, sustainable life. 2 major grocery stores, clothing shops, restaurants, and bars at all price points. The Grand Theatre and the other venues for live entertainment are close. Artillery Park, the main library, City Hall, main post office, doctors, dentists, lawyers are all within walking distance. You could put a lightweight kayak on your back and walk to Doug Fleur Park for an afternoon paddle in the bay. The Kingston School of Art is a 15-minute walk away. A person living there can walk or bike to Confederation Park, turn right, take the waterfront trail to the Rideau Trail and head to Ottawa. Turn left and walk to the hopefully soon-to-exist waterfront trail around Clasped Arms, to the Kick and Push Trail and join the Trans-Canada Trail. Work life. CFB Kingston is a half-hour walk. Queens and KGH 20 minutes, Hotel Dieu Hospital and OHIP are 5 minutes away. What an opportunity to live and work without a car. A major bus terminal is around the corner. Last but not least, our staff have worked very closely with this applicant. They have spent over a year refining the terms of the building using their professional tools to encourage changes that have made this an even better building in terms of look, acceptable height, and the chance for some very exciting community benefits. I respect their professionalism. I realize this wasn't all planning issues, but it's very much a political statement about, for me, sustainability, walkability, many of the things that we have been concentrating on at this council, and I will vote in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Neal.
Yes, couple of comments. I know that we received an addendum to our addendum just before the beginning of Planning Committee, which included something that somehow wasn't in the earlier report for whatever reason, and we had shadowing studies done for spring, summer, and fall equinox, but we didn't for the winter equinox. And that, in fact, shows that Central School, virtually for most of the school day, will be in deep shadow. That both the Armory and Artillery Park would also be in deep shadow. So that, for whatever reason, we didn't have that information previously, but I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. The other thing, and I mentioned this at the Planning Committee, I probably annoyed everybody at that meeting, because indeed, people who are suggesting 4 to 6 stories, that isn't what the zoning says. That isn't what the official plan says. It doesn't talk about stories at all. It talks about meters. And the meters that are allowed would, for residential, allow just under 8 stories residential, as I understand it. Several people have spoken to me about how Anna Lane at 9 stories isn't a negative impact on the community. So I think those suggest to me that that this developer could have developed 8, 9, or 10 stories with far less community pushback that we're getting with the proposed 15, actually 16 stories when you count the top. So for that reason, I voted against it at planning, and I'll be voting against it again tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McLaren.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe that Kingston is unique and that there are many things that make us unique. However, we face a serious question, and that is, how do we keep ourselves unique? There are at least 2 strategies to maintaining our cultural built heritage. We can preserve its look and feel as close as it was to when it was built. This is a strategy that's followed, for example, by Paris, Rome, and Quebec City. Or we can juxtapose it with new redevelopment, and examples of this would be Halifax and London. Both can work, but which is better for Kingston? Mixing the old and the new through juxtaposition is easy. It can just happen. One mistake or one moment of missed vigilance, and the city is almost forced to go down that juxtaposition route. That is why the strategy is so commonplace in North America. However, might our uniqueness be better served by our own exclusive and particular heritage protection strategy? I believe that the greatest value in the short and the long term for Kingston is in the second option, to be more like Paris and less like London. This seems to be the choice that Kingston made when we first instituted the height restriction in the downtown and harbor area bylaw. Is this bylaw still relevant? Yes, of course it is. The bylaw was arrived at with broad public support, and it still clearly has broad public support. This bylaw is a powerful contributor to the quality of place that we enjoy in our downtown. It ensures the investment that many have put into preserving our downtown does not get wasted. Many have invested in a vibrant quality of place that is defined by its surroundings. Surroundings are the greatest contributor to a sense of place. Any business person knows how much effort they put into creating a sense of place for their business. I ask you to recall how much effort you put into transforming your house or your apartment into your home. We all do strongly value a sense of place. The concreteness and the stability of a consistent sense of place provides the soil for intergenerational connections through the organic lived experience that links us to our parents and our ancestors who shared this place. This is in contrast to sterile and monstrous cyborg-like juxtapositions that rend the organic growth, cutting off our roots to our lived connections to our past. If these lived experiences and connections to our roots, it is these lived and experiences and connections to our roots that contribute meaningfully to the authenticity of our city and the uniqueness of our public life. These lived experiences provide a sense of belonging to a place that helps fulfill an inner need for security, permanence, and a source of personal identity. Tearing up these connections from our collective experience is unhelpful in building a shared relevance or deep roots within our community and within our city. The law, when directed at the common good, is a guardian of our collective traditions, values, and expectations. The law provides a thread that binds our community's past to our present and to our future in a tapestry of collective experience. In this sense, the law is, to the community, what our character is to each of us, a very significant part of who we are and how others see us. So what face do we want to put on the character of our city for the next 100 years? If our city's architecture is just like every other city, then that is just one less reason to come to Kingston. Kingston's current bylaw allows for 3 to 4 times the height and massing of most existing buildings. The bylaw's intensification allowances are also huge. It provides for managed, orderly, and expanded growth. The bylaw allows for the protection and enhancement of our cultural and built assets. These are all the good things we want in good measure. In short, I believe our current downtown zoning bylaw finds the best balance between long lists of competing intentions, interests, and desires. I see the law as a limit to audacity, not as an anchor point to negotiate new levels of audacity. To me, the reasons given for amending the bylaw seem to be examples of reason run amok, reason blinded from reality. And the cure for that is to get out of the imaginary world and into the real world. And open your eyes and see. Simply put, the building is just too tall. I therefore have not yet been provided with a good reason to unbalance the bylaw or adjust the height element in the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak? Councillor Hutchison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that this proposal that came before the Planning Committee and a meeting I attended and spoke at, this is a question of intensification and density as a concern, and the problem for everyone is that, everybody agrees on the principle. And no one, it's hard pressed to find anybody that disagrees. I think the number is probably close to zero. So the other part of it is that, what this turns on is whether how much weight, how much importance we give to the historical, heritage, architectural, and aesthetic and neighborhood conditions that this proposal as presented will have, plus the precedent-setting aspects, which are not allowed to be spoken of in planning terms, but are certainly alive out there in economic terms. So, as was partly alluded to in the previous comments, the 1996 bylaw took in a great deal of public consultation and tried to balance all the community considerations and interests involved. And it also anticipated, and this seems to get lost, it anticipated intensification because the surrounding area is 2 to 3 stories high, and what is allowed is by the bylaw is approximately 8 stories or 25.5 meters. So when this first came up with planning, I said we should go back to the 1996 bylaw, find out what the arguments were, and pro and con, and assess the bylaw accordingly in the light of the proposal. This was not received by staff well, and I was given the answer that what has changed is intensification. But as I said, the bylaw already anticipates that there would need to be intensification of a certain degree, and that's the issue at hand here, and how those different values get balanced out. And what concerns me most of all here is that the building is outsized for the area that it's in. It's twice as big as the bylaw allows. Originally proposed, it was far more than that. It was 2.4 times as much. It also concerns me that it could create a following precedent of contextual, what's been called contextual precedent, where the developer can say, well, you gave me X, you gave so-and-so X, so I would like X, and probably X plus. Staff is constrained in the sense they have to say every proposal is taken on its own merits, but after 10 years on council, it doesn't seem to actually work that way. So that's what concerns me, and because it's already been put to me by other developers that, you know, hey, what about that? How come I can't get this? And that has some effect in the process. So I think that this is why I'm not going to vote for this. It's not just about the proposal. It's about the implications of the proposal and what kind of city and down city you want. And I'll come to an end about an anecdote. After we had a meeting here, can't remember which one, I was introduced to these folks from North Carolina.
30 seconds.
And they said, they're from Wilmington, I think it was. And they said, I said, so what's up? And I said, oh, we have this issue here. And I mentioned the Capitol and the other proposal we're dealing with. And I said, this is the size of them. And they said, oh, no, don't do that. So the economic development ideas, intensification, increased economic consumption. One building will not solve that. 2 buildings, 3 buildings, 4 buildings will not solve that. So there are other ways to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holland.
Thank you, Your Worship. For reasons very similar to the ones expressed by my colleague, Councillor Hutchison, I won't be supporting this proposal. I guess I'd also just like to draw attention to another one of our strategic priorities. We've talked a little bit about intensification, well, a lot. We've all thought a lot about it in relation to this building. And walkability, as Councillor Schell has brought up. Some of the ideas that we floated around when we had our session to sketch out the 4 years that we had ahead of us as a council. And we also talked about open government and transparency and public consultation. And that is a priority that I value a great deal. I think we've done a tremendous job working towards that over the few years that we've been on council so far in this term. And though I think we're at risk of failing in our objectives ultimately, if we fail to gain the trust of residents and those who are speaking out on this issue, for example, who have said over and over again from all across the city that they do not support the size, the height of this building. So for that reason, and to ensure that the consultations that we undertake as a city will continue to grow in the degree of meaningful participation, I'm going to do what the overwhelming majority of the public has asked me to do, and that is to vote against this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cannon.
Thank you, and through you. I just want to touch base on 3 reasons as to why I'm going to support this project. The social, economic, and environmental benefits that come with it. We always like to talk about how we want to reduce green gas emissions. Today, we actually get to vote on that and actually do it in a meaningful way. We're going to allow people to have greater access to public transit. People will be walking more. We're creating buildings or a building that has new insulation. Many people criticize some of our downtown buildings. They say you can't have a lit candle in the buildings because they're so drafty that the candle will blow out. Newly insulated, new construction buildings are good for our constituents. Shared walls have lower utility costs, and new constructions means that these buildings are going to be, or this particular building is going to be filled with things like new appliances that require less energy and are better for the environment. People say we don't have enough people per kilometer in our city, which means that may have an influence on our taxes. We may be paying too much in taxes because we don't have the right density. This should be a high priority for a community that says they want to be a sustainable city. From a social perspective, this creates affordable living spaces for our constituents. I don't think downtown should be just a place for rich people to live. Increased heights keeps the cost of housing down and keeps rent rates down. Nobody seems to want to talk about that when we talk about our official plan. Instead, they talk about how many bricks are stacked too high and how that frustrates them. I really feel that the constituents are really being overlooked when we have these conversations. Instead, when we look at a building like this, we should be looking at the fact that 50% of Canadian homeowners only have $10,000 of accessible cash to them at any given time, or 40% of Canadians have less than $1,000 in their bank account. That means that affordable housing is very important, and designing a city where people can live affordably is very important. And I feel that these people are being overlooked. If we support a project like this, we're creating an environment where people can live without vehicles, which are very expensive. They'll have more affordable purchase prices on their home. They'll have utility costs that are lower because of new construction technologies. And I think these people need our help. I think we should give them a hand. From an economic perspective, I feel that Kingston's in dire need for an uplift in our downtown. Let's fill it with people. Let's get rid of our vacancy signs. Let's rejuvenate these derelict, abandoned buildings and turn them into places where people live and spaces for the arts. Let's make these places where people thrive instead of a place where dust collects. Our downtown business has said that it's very important, which is a very important asset in our city. Many would call it the heart of our city. They say that we need intensification in our downtown. So to vote against, contrary to their recommendation, seems very counterintuitive to me. Our taxpayers have made a huge investment in the Big Dig, and we made big investments and have had a lot of momentum with the K-Rock Center. And I think we need to capitalize on the investments that we've made in our downtown. This project goes with our goals of sustainability. We're increasing public transit, we're lowering our green gas emissions, we're making a walkable community, we're lowering our burden on the taxpayers, we're constructing a city in an economically and responsible way, we're creating an inclusive community that does not cater to the rich, and and it is worth noting that this building is actually 3 stories shorter than other buildings in our downtown core. Our downtown needs new life. Let's give it some, and let's get excited about it.
Thank you. Councillor Allen.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I just have a few questions, some lingering from Planning Committee a couple weeks ago, and also from some of the things that my colleagues have said today. One of it is about shadowing. So my understanding was that when we look at shadowing, part of how we arrived at this height was that the impacts of the shadowing were a lot less than previous iterations. What are the impacts of the shadowing in terms of this? Are we going to be overshadowing a school for much of the year in shadow?
Ms. Vendetti.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. With respect to the shadowing, we had studies that illustrated fall and spring shadows for the 20-story building, for a 17-story building, and for the 16-story building that's currently being recommended. The study that was submitted and included in the addendum was a winter equinox submission, so it showed the worst case scenario in terms of shadowing in the winter months. So it was looking at the shortest day of the year, December 21st. There were shadows being cast on the schoolyard through that study. Some of those shadows were from the senior citizens apartment that's right there. The shadowing from this building would hit the schoolyard around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but given the time of year that shadowing is forecasted to happen, it's likely that the children aren't likely to be in school, given that it's the shortest day of the year, December 21st, and it's a minimal impact in terms of it's only for an hour or two.
And how long could we expect that? So would that be spread out over a month either direction, or a couple weeks? How do we know when that sort of shift takes place?
Through Your Worship, the days get longer after December 21st, so it would be a couple of weeks, a short time period, maybe a month.
Okay, thank you. One of the things that in the second peer review document from ERA that many people have pointed out is the floor plate, and the floor plate recommendations that larger cities have in their tall building guidelines. And we're not following that recommendation here, and I'm wondering why we took that route in sort of ignoring that advice from our peer-reviewed document.
Ms. Agnew.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. So certainly we didn't ignore the recommendation. We did have a look at all of the recommendations that came forward in the peer review and assess them based on not only the viability of the suggestion, but also from a policy framework, whether it was something that we had the ability to require of the applicant or whether we did not. So as a recommendation coming from the City of Toronto Tall Building Guidelines, again, we wanted to consider the context by which those recommendations and those guidelines were created for the City of Toronto and look at where they would be similar and dissimilar to the situation in the City of Kingston. So for example, in Toronto, where these guidelines are being applied mostly in the downtown core, the average building height that they're being approved with is 60 stories. So when you look at a 60-story building with that floor plate and the type of parcel fabrics that they're being approved upon, it's a very different situation to some extent from the City of Kingston. So we wanted to look at that, the comparability to the situation, and then more importantly, we needed to look to our policy framework, which currently doesn't have any type of policy articulation that would give us the guidance and the ability to make it a requirement of any applicant. Our documents currently right now are silent with respect to any kind of limitation or guidance with respect to floor plate of buildings. So for those reasons, staff, we did have discussions about reducing the floor plate with the applicant, but we could not make it a requirement.
Okay, just a couple more questions. Thanks for sharing that. I have some things to say about that. But I wanted to know, my colleagues have mentioned that the zoning bylaw is quite clear about height. And so I'm wondering, given the sort of lack of direction in our policy documents about floor plate, where do we have in our policy documents that we could even consider something above this height? It's very clear in some of the language in our official plan about protecting cultural heritage, landscape, human scale. Those are things that we see in our email inbox every day for the last few weeks. And so I'm wondering how we could consider this in our, if it's clear in the zoning bylaw that this height exists.
Thank you, and through your worship. So from a policy perspective, when we're looking at analyzing any type of development proposal, there's a series of policies that we look at. We look at the provincial policy statement from a high-level overarching perspective that then focuses on our official plan and then down to the implementing zoning that is assigned to the particular parcel in question. So while the zoning on the property does have height restriction of 25.5 meters, and it was already mentioned, so that was developed as part of the zoning bylaw for the downtown area that was established in 1996. Our 2010 official plan that was created several years after, it has a very broad and overarching look at the development that we want to pursue for the city. So we have to look at all of the policy sections of the official plan, and there's numerous. It's not just one policy here and there. We have to look at them comprehensively as a holistic document. But specifically when you look at section 10A4, I believe it is in the official plan, it speaks to the Lower Princess Heritage Character Area, and it gives some real specific guidance with respect to development in this area. But it also provides an exemption policy which states that, notwithstanding any of the other provisions above, taller buildings are allowed in this area of the city, subject to going through the compatibility criteria and the policy tests that are used to determine whether or not the building can be compatible at the height and massing that's proposed in and above the zoning bylaw. So for that reason, we do have to consider proposals that come in, even though they don't meet the zoning that was established in 1996. The 2010 official plan does have that enabling policy for us to look at potential exemptions to those heights, subject to the compatibility criteria being fulfilled and met.
Sorry, just to repeat that briefly, the official plan supersedes the zoning bylaw, and so therefore, because it says we can, someone can bring an urban design study to prove that a building of taller nature can fit here, we have to consider it? Is that essentially what you're saying?
Well, from a planning perspective, we have to give consideration to any development proposal that comes in at any time, and we have to go through the process of evaluating whether it's something that staff can support or not. But based on the exemption policy that's in the official plan, that gives the ability for us to look at a development proposal that that may exceed the zoning without amendment to the official plan, which is why you don't see an amendment to the official plan included as part of the detailed recommendation. So we're really talking about the zoning bylaw.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I've got for questions. I'll just take one short minute to say that it seems to me that this has been considered fairly deeply and across many policies by our staff. I think we have some language and we have some guidelines and we have some vision as a city about what we want to see, but we don't necessarily have the framework to implement that and to implement some of the vision that we've been hearing from folks. We don't have a downtown secondary plan that guides development. We have a design architecture guideline study, I believe, right? We don't have a downtown secondary plan.
Ms. Hegney?
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Patterson. So no, we don't. So we do have the downtown architectural guidelines, and they essentially have informed official plan policy, but they are a set of guidelines, which is different than an actual policy.
Okay, and so then, I'm looking forward to the zoning bylaw comprehensive process because we're going to be able to put in a lot of these discussions in there, and we're going to be able to maybe aim for the types of heights that are uniform or move in a certain direction so that it feels like a natural evolution of a city. Because I think the biggest concern that we all have, whether we're for this or against this, is that development is becoming ad hoc. It's coming, sort of in a place, in another place, and there's no sort of natural evolution. And we
30
need
seconds.
to build that study. Thank you. Build that work. I think a lot of work has gone into making this fit in here. And I think that this building will benefit and fits in our downtown. And that's not to say I haven't had concerns about it and that I embrace it fully, but I certainly will be watching and working with the developer to make sure that these concerns that we all have are met going forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bohm.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I think it's pretty plain to see around this table that we can all pretty much agree we need densification and intensification in our downtown. And yet we need to somehow do this without expanding the urban boundary, which we refer to all the time. There's been huge dollars invested in active transportation in Kingston as a sustainable city. There's also been a massive investment in transit, and now is the time essentially to leverage these investments to get the return on the tax dollars that we've invested here for the taxpayers. So we need these tax dollars to be available to purchase parkland, and we've recently realized that those funds, parkland reserve funds, they eventually dry up if you don't put more money back into them. We need these dollars to maintain and save other heritage properties that are going to come up available on the market and the current ones that we already have. So we need to do this by increasing the number of ratepayers that we have rather than increasing overall tax dollars, because we can all probably agree that the tax burden on our residents, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal, is getting to the point where people are having to choose between food and the ability to live and function. Another point about that is currently I look up there and I see no one's actually using that airspace. So what an opportunity here. This project has gone from, yes, thank you for laughing. That's very respectful. Thank you, appreciate that. This project is essentially how we attain livable, restored, vibrant heritage, rather than a decaying train station example that I can think of. And yes, it can be heritage and be left to rot and decay, and it will still be heritage, but nobody's saving it. That's the problem. This is how we take a storefront, and we talk about human scale. Well, you know what? When you're walking down there and you see that building, and you look at the storefront and it's restored, you're gonna think, wow, that's amazing. And yes, there may be an initial building in the background, but there's lots of examples of Spark Street in Ottawa where these things exist and they fit, they're blended. This is modernization. This is where the city is going to eventually go to. The provincial policy statement says that cities of over 100,000 need to grow. We have an urban boundary. We need to grow. That's a fact. The way we save these properties for future generations is not by leaving them vacant and decaying, but is by being creative in our approaches and blending heritage with a modern building, and by having more people living and working and contributing to a thriving downtown. So when it comes to intensification and densification, which I believe we can all agree on that we need, within our urban boundary, let's not be scared of our own shadows. And that's why I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Councillor Turner.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Patterson. There's a lot of things to talk about tonight, and a lot of you have commented on a lot of the issues that I think are very important concerning this building. I'd like to talk a little bit about taxes that Councillor Boehm discussed earlier. And I'd like to say that residential development provides the most reliable tax source. So if we're going to look at this building, for example, the taxes for this building originally were
$92,867.38. We're going to take that to approximately, if I've done my math correctly, about $700,000 to $800,000 a year that we're going to generate on that particular site. So that's going to go to providing our city, as Councillor Boehm said, with a lot more money to buy and build other things. So I think it's a win-win there. Also, if you look at it, we're going to increase jobs with the construction. Kathy Woods did an economic impact study, approximately 400 full-time employee years through construction, about 43 million in an economic impact. Also, the intensification of the downtown will increase the vibrancy and the cultural activity of the people that live down there. So it's a win-win. I think we have to go forward with this. We have to change the culture and our thinking and move to the future. So I'm in favor of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Osanek.
Thank you, Your Worship. I feel that 15 stories is too high. It's twice what the city's official plan recommends, and it's 5 times higher than the standard buildings and the surrounding blocks. There's many experts on heritage in the community who oppose this proposal, including the Frontenac Heritage Foundation. We want intensification downtown, but not at any cost. An 8-story condo would have given us intensification. We had residents send us examples of mid-rise intensifications in Toronto. Toronto, the land of skyscrapers. So if we look at these condos, right, here's one that was sent to us at Yonge Street in Davisville, 8 stories tall only, right at the subway stop. We have another one at 510 King Street East, which has the streetcar right at his front door. It's only 7 stories. We have one on Adelaide Street West, which is right downtown, 10 stories. So condos don't always have to be skyscrapers and high rises. If the proposal had been 8 stories, we would still be doubling the current density in this area, and we wouldn't be debating this tonight, as planning amendments would not have been necessary. The developer could have built the condo by now in this time of having 2 revisions and 2 public meetings. In section 9.5.9 of the official plan, it says that one of council's considerations is item H, the degree to which the proposal creates a precedent. I do not want to corrode the city's ability to say no in the future to every other development that might be too large. There's no doubt that this proposal will set a precedent for future developments. Anna Lane condominiums, options for home at Queen and Bagot is 9 floors. It is modestly half the size of this proposal. I don't hear any complaints about its size. Anna Lane is the current development that I would like used as a precedent for the downtown area south of Division Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Deputy Mayor Stroud.
Thank you, Your Worship. How exciting, people of Kingston, Your Worship, esteemed colleagues. We're currently tied, 5 in favor, 5 against, 3 people to speak, including myself. No matter what the outcome, it looks like we're kind of going into overtime here. The essential gist of my argument is almost identical to Councillor Osanek's. I don't want to repeat what she said. Thank you for giving us such amazing examples in the land of skyscrapers where an 8 or 9-story development can work and be profitable. I think it's a myth that it can't be. I've said it publicly. Basically, they're seeking. They initially sought 20, and then now it's 16, and the height limit is 8. What we're arguing about is stories 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. That portion that's above the height limit described in the official plan. Before I go any further, I'd like, if Your Worship, I'd like to ask a question of the Director of Planning. It has to do with the heritage element. Can you explain the difference between a heritage district in the Ontario Heritage Act and the language in the official plan that describes this area?
Ms. Agnew.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship. So this area is identified as the lower St. Lawrence ward, and what the official plan says about it is it identifies it as a character area, something that's worth further exploration from the city's perspective. So it doesn't have any heritage status right now. It hasn't been evaluated against criteria under Section 906 of the Heritage Act, so it hasn't gone through that evaluative process, say as Sydenham Ward or Berryfield, for example. It's a note in the official plan that simply says this is an area that has some historic relevance, particularly in terms of the age of the structures, that there could be some character there and it's worth the city evaluating at a future date, but it doesn't really get into any other detail than that.
Thank you. Yes, so the heritage character has been covered by the dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of emails that we've all received from people that value that element. However, there is no hard and fast heritage protection for this area. It sounds like maybe we should be considering it. In the meantime, we've spoken about the precedent, we've spoken about what could be done here under the current rules without a zoning bylaw amendment. We've made allusion to human scale, and I heard Paris mentioned by Councillor McLaren. I would just like to say that it's not just Paris, the capital of France, there's the capital of Belgium, the capital of Denmark, the capital of Holland. All have the same kind of human scale, high density in their central areas. And those neighborhoods all are thriving. We are so close to having that here in Kingston, a little bit by historical fluke and a little bit by design. Let's not give up on it now. We're so close, but most importantly, let's listen to the people that are speaking to us. The people across the downtown, in my district, in Councillor Neal's district, in Councillor Hutchison's district, the downtown areas of the city are overwhelmingly against this proposal. It is very clear, and it's not just from the emails, it's anyone you talk to on the street. The only ones in favor are ones with a direct vested interest in the project, or ones that have invested by buying a unit, or ones that stand to gain by increased development in the area. That is clear. We will be letting the people of downtown Kingston down in a really big way if we pass this proposal. The developer is able to do it within more modest limits. And Your Worship, I really encourage you to not turn your back on the people of the downtown. They're looking for leadership on this. They need us to stick by our bylaws. Our bylaws are what give the public trust in their elected officials, and we're about to turn our back on them for some kind of quick fix that may or may not be there. We can get there with 2 8-story buildings. We do not need 1 16-story building. We don't need it. Please vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor George.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of questions. One to staff. The recommendation that's before us, do you feel that this recommendation, if supported, could be supported at the OMB should it go that an appeal process be started on this project?
Ms. Agnew.
Thank you, and through you. Yes, absolutely. Planning staff, I would never put my name on a report as a professional planner that I didn't feel could be fully supported at the Ontario Municipal Board.
Thank you. I've been down this road before, and I think it's been a while since we got this type of development. It goes back to Block D when we had a great deal of discussion and public meetings on what was going to happen with that block over a number of years. And I know people this evening are comparing what we should or shouldn't be doing with our downtown to cities like Paris, Toronto, London. But the fact is, this is the city of Kingston. There are some similarities, but there are a lot of differences between what the city of Kingston currently has available in lands of use and policies and such compared to some of these other cities across the world. I put a lot of reliance in our city staff when they do a job that we've asked them to do through the planning committee when it comes to advising us as elected officials to assist us in making decisions on whether these are good or bad planning proposals. We do hear from the community. We know there's a number of community members that dislike this particular proposal, and there are others out there who dislike many other proposals that come forward. But at the end of the day, the question I always ask myself is, what is being recommended to us, the elected officials, by those we have hired to do their job? Is it defensible at the OMB or in a court of law? And stop laughing, you think this is pretty funny. This is a problem we have. So for me, if this is defensible, and I can assure you, I don't believe for a minute, and I heard this on the television news the other night, that this has split our community down the middle, which I think is a real crock, guys. You shouldn't have stated that. There's 124,000 people stated on the signage in this community. We've heard from maybe 100 to 150 either opposed to or in favor of this particular application. But there are a lot of people out there in the community that we all represent who are allowing us to do our job based on the advice that we're receiving and doing the job that we feel is in their best interest as community, people that are involved in the community. And it takes in a huge area. I've heard from a lot of people on the street, as Deputy Mayor Stroud mentioned, and I've heard both who are very opposed to it and have let me know about it, and I've also heard from many that support it, who use the downtown a great deal, even though they may live in the outskirts, but they love the downtown of Kingston, as most of us do. That's why, we support a lot of what takes place in our downtown and have for years, and will continue to do that. So I guess the only thing I would offer is that I'm going to vote in favor of this. There's probably, in my opinion, it could have been done better, possibly. I'm not going to say that because I'm not a planner, I'm not an architect, I'm not a financial expert, I don't know what it takes to make these things happen, that it's viable for somebody to come in and develop these types of projects. But on the advice of our staff, I'm going to have to support this because the last thing I want to do is spend another $55,000 or $60,000 of taxpayers' money to lose at the Ontario Municipal Board. And we've already lost 2 appeals in this term of council to the tune of roughly $115,000 to the taxpayers that we knew we couldn't defend against. And this is another example of where we could end up in that same situation. But I'm going to act on their advice and support the recommendation.
Thank you. There is only one member of council that has not spoken. Deputy Mayor, will you take the chair?
You have the floor.
Thank you. This is a very important decision. It is good that we have had the level of debate and discussion that we have had in our community over the last year. I think it has been a shining example of civic engagement. And to some degree, I wish we got this much level of input on all of the issues that we talk about. It is polarizing. Most of the people that I talk about, that I've talked to about this issue, they have a gut reaction to it. Either a gut positive reaction, that makes a lot of sense. We need to invest in our downtown. Or they have a gut negative reaction. It just wouldn't fit. And I think it's important to say that I respect opinions on both sides. There's no easy answer here. It's not that one side is absolutely right and the other side should be dismissed. There are pros and cons that need to be weighed. This is a difficult decision. It's difficult because of the location. We were talking about a 15-story building that was located somewhere in the West End. We wouldn't have had an hour debate about it. We would have all approved it. If we were talking about a development that had the tower right on the streetscape of Princess Street, again, we probably would be in agreement. We'd probably all vote no. I would. It's about Queen Street. So what sort of redevelopment do we imagine there? And in my view, Queen Street has such promise for redevelopment that can bring new vitality to the commercial core on Princess Street. In my view, taller buildings on Queen Street can sustain your independent retailer on Princess Street. That is why so many people across the community that I have spoken to are in favor of this. Granted, many people are opposed as well, but I too take issue with a couple of comments that say that the overwhelming number of residents are opposed. No, I have talked to many people that are also very much in favor of this because they love the downtown and they are worried that if we cling too hard to the status quo, if we cling too hard to what we have, we will lose it. So we have an opportunity to invest in change. And I believe that this is the right kind of change. To Councillor McLaren's point, I am absolutely in favor of the mix of the old and the new. Kingston is the city where history and innovation thrive. Not the city where history thrives, not the city where innovation thrives, the city where history and innovation thrive together. This is an opportunity to invest in our downtown and make it stronger than ever before. I am also in favor of balance. Staff have worked on this for over a year to try to get that balance. We are trying to strike a balance between concerns about heritage, but also our goals for sustainability, our goals for walkability, our goals for intensification. And as the Director of Planning said earlier tonight, you can't just look at one section of the official plan or one section of the policy, you have to look at everything as a whole. And when you look at everything as a whole, in my view, this development strikes that balance. So for that reason, I will vote in favor and I ask Council to do the same. Thank you.
And you have the chair back.
So with that, we will call the vote. And that carries by a vote of 7-6. Report number 92 from Heritage Kingston. Who has report 92 from Heritage Kingston?
Sorry, Your Worship, I was daydreaming. Yes. Report number 92 from Heritage Kingston. It is my pleasure to rise and present it to Council for consideration. Moved and seconded.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stroud, seconded by Councillor Schell, that report number 92 from Heritage Kingston be received and adopted.
So there is just the one item. Approval of Heritage Property Grant Applications 428 Princess Street and 34 Sydenham Street. We will call the vote. And that carries. Report number 93 from Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. It's my pleasure to present report number 93 from the Planning Committee for Council's consideration. Thank you. Thanks.
Moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Neal, that report number 93 from the Planning Committee be received and adopted.
There's just the one clause, approval of an application for zoning bylaw amendment 113 Raglan Road. We will call the vote. And that carries. There's nothing from Committee of the Whole. We do have two information reports. If you have questions, just raise your hands. Number one, tender and contract awards subject to the established criteria for delegation of authority for the month of July 2016. Number two, Brownfield Program Overview 2005 to 2016. Okay, there are no information reports from members of council, no miscellaneous business. Well, I'll move on to new motions and ask the Deputy Mayor take the chair, please.
I will have to look on my colleagues because the internet is out and I don't have access to the digital version. So, moved by Mayor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Holland, whereas the Tragically Hip held its last concert of its Man Machine Poem Tour in Kingston on August 20th, 2016, And whereas the City of Kingston held a community celebration event in Springer Market Square in partnership with the CBC, Kingston Accommodation Partners, the Great Waterway, and the Downtown Kingston BIA to broadcast the concert, and whereas over 11.7 million people across Canada watched the concert live on the CBC, and 25,000 or more people gathered in Springer Market Square and the Rogers K-Rock Center to celebrate this iconic band. And whereas since the show, there has been tremendous interest from residents in honoring the band and their iconic August 20th show in Kingston, and whereas the city approved a commemoration strategy which states that an event will only be considered for commemoration at least 10 years after its conclusion, therefore be it resolved that notwithstanding the commemoration strategy, Council approve the commemoration of the Tragically Hip concert held in Kingston on August 20th, and that Council direct staff to commemorate the August 20th, the Tragically Hip concert and City of Kingston event by having a stone engraved and a page added in the Kingston Remembers History flipbook within Springer Market Square, and that this commemoration be funded through the existing Recreation and Leisure Services capital budget. Your Worship, you have the chair, or you have the floor.
Thank you very much. This motion came forward as a result of a number of people in the community that came forward after the August 20th concert and came forward with a suggestion that we find a way to be able to commemorate what was clearly a night to remember in Kingston, a night that certainly was a great show of support for the Tragically Hip and a great opportunity for us to be able to join with Canadians from coast to coast to be able to show how much we appreciate the Tragically Hip and certainly what they've done in our community. So this particular motion, of course, requires a council motion because we do have a commemorations policy that would say ordinarily we would have to wait 10 years. But I think under the circumstances, I think that this deserves an exception. This, in my view, was a once-in-a-generation event, and certainly we have an opportunity, I think, to show again our appreciation to all of the band members while we still can. With that, in order to move as quickly as possible, there is actually an amendment that I would like to put forward if the clerk is able to put that on the screen.
So there's an amendment from Mayor Patterson. You see up there. I'll read it out, I guess. I read it? Yes. That new motion number 1 be amended by adding the following 3 clauses immediately prior to the final clause. 1, that the design of the Tragically Hip Square be completed by October 31st, 2016, and to allow staff to share the design with the Downtown Kingston BIA for consideration as part of their 2016 pewter ornament collection, and that staff be directed to consult with the public and the Tragically Hip on the design of the commemoration stone, and that staff be directed to consult with the First Capital Place Advisory Committee to finalize the commemoration location within Springer Market Square. And is there another clause? Or is that it? Okay, so that last "and" is redundant. Okay, so to the amendment, Your Worship, you have the floor.
Thank you. So all I wanted to say here is that this amendment basically just speaks to a timeline so that we can move quickly on this. And secondly, it speaks to consultation, not only with the public, but also with the band themselves. And I think that that's critical. So I do hope that we have council support on that amendment as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the amendment only, does anyone wish to speak? Okay, so seeing none, on the amended motion as a whole, does anyone wish to speak? Oh, we have to vote on the amendment. That's right, sorry. I'm moving too fast. On the amendment, we will call the vote. Please vote. And that passes unanimously. So back to the full motion as amended. Your Worship has already spoken. Did you want to say anything else? Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion as a whole? Councillor Neal.
I just want to again thank staff and the mayor's office for doing an excellent job on organizing this. It was a tremendous evening. I was in Market Square along with 25,000 other people, cheek to cheek, and the whole event was excellent. I know that the mayor's received a suggestion, as I have, from a citizen suggesting that perhaps some consideration for some 401 signage. Kingston, the home of the tragically hip, might be a consideration. I know that we already have a couple of signs there, so we don't want a lot of sign pollution, but it might be something that's worth considering as well. Thank
Councillor
you.
Neal, are you making an amendment or a friendly suggestion? A suggestion, okay. So we're still on the amended motion with the extra clauses. Does anyone else wish to speak on the amended motion? I actually have something to say. So Councillor Schell, could you take the chair for a second?
I'll take the chair and recognize you.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I happened by coincidence to have a conversation with Rob Baker this morning, and a portion of it was in public with other people listening, but after that, going back to his electric vehicle and I to my scooter, we had a little other private conversation, and he actually, it was quite touching. He volunteered with no questioning on my part. We just mentioned the final tour and just chatting. And he said how proud he was to have seen after he came out of the arena how well things had gone in Market Square. I mean, he wasn't privy to that. He was on stage, right? And he expressed personal pride in that and being a part of that, and really. And thanked me and asked me to thank council. So I'm taking this opportunity to basically thank all you guys on behalf of Rob Baker for the portion that City Council put forward in helping that happen. Everybody agrees it was a success story, and I think the mayor's idea of commemorating it so soon after the fact is an excellent idea, and probably has the full support of the band members as well. And hopefully we'll hear that from them in time. Thank you.
I'll return the chair.
Got the chair back. Right, anyone else? Seeing none, we'll call the vote on the entire motion. Please vote. Well, that passes unanimously. Great job, Your Worship. You have the chair back.
Thank you very much. On to new motion number 2, moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Holland. Whereas asbestos is a well-known cancerous agent with increasing numbers of Canadians facing serious health consequences due to exposure over the years, and whereas numerous countries around the world have legislated an outright ban, and many cities across Canada have passed motions calling for a complete ban in Canada, which the current federal government has promised, therefore be it resolved that the City of Kingston endorses the complete banning of asbestos and encourages the Canadian government to pass legislation as soon as possible, and that this motion be shared with MP Mark Gerritsen, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and all federal opposition party leaders. Councillor Neal.
Thank you very much. Just to mention, last night the Kingston District Labour Council passed a motion unanimously supporting this initiative. All kinds of other cities across Canada have done a similar thing. It was something that was identified by the current government and one of the promises made, but at this time there's no legislative timetable for when this is going to be brought in. And I think it's a very, very important initiative. All kinds of other countries around the world have passed outright bans. There has been over the years some reluctance in Canada because for many years Canada was the largest producer of asbestos. And so there was some reluctance politically over the years to do anything about it. In fact, we've banned it in so many applications in Canada, but we continue to import materials that have asbestos, and there's still some asbestos being used in Canada as well, and this is attempting to address that. I have a very personal reason why I'm moving this motion as well. My father was a chief petty officer engineer in the Navy. And he took an early retirement in 1967 because of what was diagnosed at that time as bronchial asthma. He died at age 54 in 1984, and the autopsy read that he had died of acute asbestosis. So this is something that affects many, many Canadians, and I think it's an important initiative for us to give the nudge to the federal government to bump this up on their priority list and to make this happen sooner. I believe that there is an amendment that my seconder agreed to that adds a little bit more clarity to what we're requesting.
Can we just get that on? Can I just get that on my screen as well? Thank you.
So while we're putting it on the mayor's screen, the amendment is the wording that you see in red.
Okay, so the amendment is to add the wording to the first action clause banning use, exportation, and import of asbestos and calling for a national registry of buildings containing asbestos as soon as possible. And then just adding that we also share this motion with the Minister of Labor and the Minister of Health. So that's also been seconded by Councillor Holland. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we will call the vote on the amendment alone. Please vote. And that carries. Councillor Neal, you have the floor.
I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will call the vote. And that carries. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor Boehm, seconded by Councillor George, that the minutes of City Council meeting number 2016-22 held Tuesday, September 6, 2016 be confirmed.
Please vote. Still one person to vote. Everyone re-vote, please. And that carries. Thank you. We have tabling of documents, number of communications. Is there any other business? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, I'll ask for bylaws.
Okay, moved by Councillor Schell, seconded by Councillor Neal, that bylaw 1 be given first and second reading.
Please vote. That carries.
Moved by Councillor Neal, seconded by Councillor Osanek, that bylaw 1 be given third reading.
Please vote. And that carries.
Okay, and I would remind you that bylaw 4, dealing with the official plan, was deferred, so it has been removed. Moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Boehm, that bylaws 2, 3, 5 through 7, 11, and 12 be given third reading. Sorry, first and second reading.
Please vote. Still one person still to vote. That carries.
Okay. Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Turner, that bylaws 2, 3, 5 through 7, 11, and 12 be given third reading.
Please vote. That carries. So, motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor George, seconded by Councillor Candon. Please vote. And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.